Hello. Apparently, I'm live. Never done this before, so that kind of I thought something else was going to happen, and it just was like, you're live. So here we go. Hello. Welcome for coming on. So this is the first live read that I'm going to be doing. Maybe the first of many. We'll have to see how this one goes. And if you enjoy it, then I'm going to do some more of them. Got lots of things we can read about. Lots of stories that are coming out this year, which is going to be quite exciting. I hope it is for me. I hope it is for everyone else. So for tonight, we're going to be going through Midnight Shadows, which is a new release from Eerie River, which you can get here. There's the link to get it if you want. So this one is 24 stories. So it was the monthly competitions that Eerie River were doing. So each month they'd have a new prompt, and the top two from each one won and were put into the end of year collection. So I was lucky enough to have two in this one. One of them is called The Sea Remembers, which is a little bit kind of weird actually. I don't know if I'd ever read it out loud because I don't know how it would go down, but obviously people must have liked it. And the one I'm going to read tonight is An Invitation. So this one is for the prompt, which was about circuses and carnivals. So at the time, I was kind of writing really kind of weird horror stuff. Whenever I did horror, it was all like weird horror, gothic horror, really kind of psychological stuff. And then I saw the prompt for this one, which was just circus, and I thought, sod it, I'm just going to write something kind of normal that's just about a circus, and clowns and all that kind of stuff are freaky enough as it is, so we don't really need to do anything outrageous about it. Not a big fan of clowns myself. I'm not terrified by them, but apparently when I was a child I was very, very scared of them. So there's a few clowns in this one. So this is Midnight Shadows. So this is I haven't got the copy of it yet because of what's going on with Amazon at the moment being so slow getting stuff out, but we have the ebook, which you can get right now at this link right, my giant finger right here. Some cracking authors in this as well: Ashley Burns, S.O. Green, Chris Hewitt, Tim Mendez, who did a live reading last week from Tasty Treats from Wisconsin, Mackenzie Richardson, Bea Vasquez, amazing authors. So it's a great book. I definitely should recommend getting it. So here it is, An Invitation. I hope you enjoy it. You'll love this, Daisy. I know it. Oscar grinned as he turned the car off the highway, and Daisy loved seeing him excited. His brown eyes twinkled, and the wrinkles and grey hairs that had crept in over the years seemed to fade. Daisy looked forward to his surprises, but something about this one gnawed at her since Oscar unveiled it that afternoon. If you say so, she replied, gazing through the window. Rain fell as they drove down a forest road. Trust me, Oscar replied, flashing at his teeth. We're close. Right, Daisy answered, staring at the woods. To her, it didn't seem like they were near anything. Oscar thumbed at his cell phone, turning up the volume on the stereo until Helter Skelter by the Beatles thumped out of the speakers. This is one of the songs Charles Manson believed had messages about the apocalypse in it. Thought it might set the mood. Charles fucking Manson? Daisy asked, her voice rising. Where the hell are you taking me? Oscar laughed as his fingers drummed on the steering wheel. Relax, it'll be awesome. Trust me. So long as there's no clowns or satanic cults who think the fucking Beatles can predict the future, she muttered with a scowl. Take the next left and 500 yards for your ultimate destination. Daisy squinted up ahead, thinking the GPS had gotten confused. Ultimate, she wondered. Does it always say that? Please tell me we're not going to an orgy in the middle of the forest. I said no 100 times. Oscar smirked and made the turn onto a dirt road. Cars sat parked up ahead, and Daisy spotted a faint glow in the distance. Her boyfriend scanned for a place to pull up. Finding a suitable one, he gave a satisfied nod, switched off the engine, and turned to Daisy. Okay, don't kill me, he started. taking her hands in his. It's a circus. Oscar, you know clowns fucking terrify me. Why'd you bring me to a place filled with them in the middle of nowhere? It's not that kind of circus, he replied, squinting off towards the lights, the smile slipping from his lips. It's invite only, exclusive for adults. Summoning Armageddon, it's called. Hence, Charles Manson-sponsored music. Despite her anger and the fear that bubbled beneath it, Daisy had to admit she felt intrigued. Oscar's surprises often came out of left field, but never failed to entertain. She knew about his severe pressure at work, and these jaunts were his only way of blowing off steam and doing something exciting together. She watched him wince as he waited for her response. Daisy humoured him. Invite only her. How'd a slub like you swing one? Oscar's grin returned. Well, I'd heard a few whispers about some carnival travelling the country. One-off gigs and secretive. I did a little digging on Reddit, Twitter, Google, you name it. Couldn't find anything concrete. I understand what Neo went through at the start of The Matrix, right? He clicked his fingers. Then last week, an invitation popped up in my inbox. Isn't that a little odd? Daisy asked. She didn't want to dampen his spirits, but the scenario seemed too coincidental for her. Nah, found a guy on Discord server who said he had contact with them. I gave him my email and location, but didn't think it'd pan out so soon. So, we going in? Daisy watched as a car drove past. Inside were a couple around her, and Oscar's age, who gave a casual wave as they searched for a parking spot. She glanced over her shoulder as another vehicle turned onto the dirt path. More people arriving eased the nagging doubt in her mind. Sure, but if I see one clown, I'm out of there, and you can make your own way home. You hear, pal? Oscar let out a whoop and kissed her. Deal, you won't regret it. No clowns. Daisy followed him out of the car. The night's air had a bite to it. Something the driving rain didn't help. She held Oscar's hand as they made their way towards the lights. They walked at a slow pace, allowing the couple who had driven past to move in behind them. Daisy smiled as she heard their whispered arguments. She hadn't been the only one surprised tonight. The path led into a clearing, and in the centre stood a massive crimson and black tent. Spotlights of reds, greens and whites surrounded it, illuminating its cavernous entrance. Groups of people passed into it, and to Daisy it looked as if people faded into the darkness of the void itself. The couple behind them fell silent. The familiar circus music, Entry of the Gladiators, drifted from inside the tent. It sounded twisted somehow, slower and at a different pitch than normal. Daisy glanced at Oscar, who wore a slight frown, and he forced a laugh when he noticed her watching him. Eerie, eh? Whoever these guys are, they know how to create an atmosphere. We going in? Oscar, Daisy said, as she pulled him to one side, letting the couple behind them pass by. She watched as they entered with slow steps, swallowed by the gloom. I don't like this. Something feels off about this entire thing. Can we just go and grab a takeaway? Bottle of wine and watch some Netflix. You can pick anything you like, please. Daisy looked up at him, tugged at his coat jacket. She felt like a youthful girl asking for someone's permission, and she hated it. The unease bothering her since they'd gotten into the car had only increased, and now her soul screamed at her to get away from the circus. Oscar squinted into the tent's maw and looked back at Daisy, worry lines eating into his face. As he took a step away, relief flooded into her, and a breath she didn't realise she'd been holding seeped out of her mouth. Yeah, sure. Don't know what I was thinking coming out here. I'm sorry, it's just... You're invited? Daisy looked up, startled. A tall man materialised out of the entrance, looming above Oscar, who wasn't short by any means. Daisy felt pinned by the stranger's sapphire eyes. With a well-groomed black beard and hair the same colour that curled at his shoulders, she thought him to be the most beautiful person she'd ever had the pleasure to witness. As she gazed at him, her fears crumbled to dust. Yes, we are, she said. Oscar, show him. Her boyfriend fumbled for his cell phone, cursing under his breath as he accessed his emails. There, he half-yelled with triumph as he displayed the PDF. Oscar Martinez plus guest, that's her. The alluring man glanced at the screen, then smiled. His teeth were perfect and white, like piano keys. He eyed Oscar, then took Daisy's hand, raising it to his mouth, and brushed his full lips against them. "And you are, my sweet?" "Daisy Rogers, his guest." "So I believe." He spoke with an accent Daisy couldn't place. "I have many names, though you may call me Samael. I am the master of ceremonies, and I'm at your service. Come, take your seats. You leave only a handful left to arrive." Samael strode past them towards the forest trail. Daisy glanced at the scowling Oscar. "Want to chase him and flirt some more?" Sighing, Daisy rolled her eyes and grabbed her boyfriend's hand. "Come on, let's go inside." "You were making it a little obvious, that's all I'm saying," Oscar hissed as he let Daisy pull him along. Darkness overwhelmed them, and panic hit Daisy. She realized Oscar experienced the same alarm when he stopped grumbling and gripped her hand instead. "Keep moving," she told herself, forcing one foot to move in front of the other. Frantic laughter rose and fell to the rhythm of the traditional circus music she knew so well, but now it reminded her of the nightmarish tunnel scene from Willy Wonka. Only this time she couldn't fast forward past it. She blinked and the pitch black evaporated, morphing into the tent's interior. Daisy glanced at Oscar, who pressed his fingers against his forehead and looked confused. Daisy scanned the inside of the cavernous tent. Tiered seats circled the performance area, unlike any she'd seen at a circus before. Lit braziers dotted its circumference, blue flames spurting from the coals. Several tall, thin men in colourful patchwork clothes cartwheeled and somersaulted inside, their bodies moving at strange angles and the cadence as if they were smoke flowing in human form. One looked at her and bowed with a grin. "Harlequins are still clowns," she muttered at Oscar. She half turned to leave, but Daisy didn't want to risk the tunnel again. A part of her mind told her to stay, that if she did, she'd see Samuel soon. Entry the Gladiators continued to play, different, but not as unsettling as it had been in the tunnel. People in the crowd whispered to one another, as if afraid to draw attention to themselves. Oscar nudged her and pointed to the far side of the arena. 2 free seats beckoned. As they made their way across, Daisy investigated the faces of the other guests. Some looked excited, but just as many exhibited nervous signs. Many fidgeted and bit their nails. Daisy smiled at a woman she would sit next to, noticing something else. "Everyone's our age," she whispered to Oscar as they took their seats. "The oldest person here couldn't be over 40 or younger than 30. That's weird, right?" Oscar glanced around and shrugged, though she could tell by his eyes darting here and there he felt uncomfortable. "Maybe," he replied in her ear. "You won't get many older than us using Reddit or Discord." "You'd get younger, though," Daisy hissed, annoyed that Oscar missed the obvious. He didn't reply as he tapped his foot and fiddled with his ear, habits he carried out when unsettled. Daisy unzipped her coat. Outside, the temperature approached freezing, but the heat inside stifled and grew oppressive. Sweat trickled down her back and sides. Next to her, Oscar removed his jacket and wiped his forehead. "Where's the goddamn heat coming from?" she croaked. Her tongue stuck to the top of her mouth like she'd swallowed a cup filled with cement. "Those braziers can't be that hot. Those creeps in the circle don't look bothered by it." Oscar shook his head in reply, perspiration flicking from his hair as he did. Grumbles and the sounds of zips rose around her as other guests followed suit. Daisy pulled at the neck of her sweater. "I'd rip this fucking thing off if I could." People staggering through the entrance drew her attention. She watched as they regained their bearings and moved towards their seat, glancing all the while at the harlequins cavorting in the circus rings. As they sat, the blue flames died, plunging the tent into a bleak silence, the performers swallowed by the shadows. Screams erupted, followed by fits of nervous laughter and coughing. Silence followed, and as it stretched, Daisy entwined her fingers with Oscar's, ignoring the sweat coating them. The doubt and fear that fled in Samuel's presence had returned, stronger than before. Her body itched to leave, but Daisy couldn't see an inch in front of her. If she stood, she worried she'd stumble and fall down the tiers and into the performing area. "This is a mistake," she muttered, shuffling closer to Oscar so their sides pressed together. "Something terrible's going to happen, I know it." Oscar squirmed, as if about to speak, but as he did, the braziers erupted into green flame. More screams rang out amid a splutter of brief, subdued hand claps. In the middle of the performance area, arms spread wide, stood Samuel. Even though the distance must have been 50 meters or more, Daisy sensed that the master of ceremonies peered into her soul. The crowd behind him and to the sides melted from her vision. Samuel, the flames and the darkness growing from the tents more behind him, were all that existed. "My guests, you are welcome," Samuel spoke, his voice like a lover's murmur in her ear. "Prepare yourselves. You are all fit, experienced, searching for something more. You've seen what life on God's earth has to offer, and it has left you wanting. He has nothing more to give you. My friends, you are all accepted the invitation, a contract signed between us." Samuel raised his hands, and the shadows behind him writhed. The green flames heightened. Screams erupted from the other side of the area. Panic battered Daisy, begging for her body to react, but her eyes locked on Samuel's, and her brain ached for his next words. Oscar gasped beside her. Sweat sizzled on his blistered and cracked skin as if he burned from the inside. His mouth gaped as he tried to speak, but only a gargle escaped as blood spilled over his lips. She heard a sound on her other side, like the popping of fat in a frying pan. The woman beside her screamed in silence. In the silence, her tongue burned from her throat and the whites of her eyeballs dripped down her cheeks, mingling with the blood streaming from her empty sockets. A part of Daisy's brain, partitioned from the rest of her conscious, screamed at her to run. Instead, she gazed back at Samuel as his piercing stare fell on her once more. The Harlequins returned, creatures writhing from the shadows, moving to the circle's edge, and faced the audience. She found it hard to focus on them. The shadowy figures twisted and swirled in her vision. The stench of burning flesh caught in her nostrils. Oscar slumped to the floor beside her, a gaping mess where his head used to be. His face melted away. Daisy pictured herself locked in a glass box, beating her fists bloody against the surface as she raged and wept. Yet mesmerized, she found herself unable to react to the surrounding carnage. Samuel's voice spoke in her mind. "It will all be over soon, my sweet." "Why aren't I burning?" she asked, raising an unblemished hand to her eyes, the one Samuel had kissed. "I think I've gone mad. My boyfriend's dead, but all I can think about is you. An unforeseen consequence from a kiss, but worry not, you will join Oscar in my kingdom before long. My protection will pass." "You are the last sacrifices required," Samuel's voice drowned out the screams. "Armageddon is at hand." The shadows swept forward, leaping on those in the crowd that still lived. Some they tore to pieces. One moved towards Daisy at a steady pace, its features a grim reflection of her own. As they regarded each other, every choice Daisy ever made replayed in her mind. She'd made mistakes in her life, but the only decision she regretted was walking into that tent tonight. As Samuel's protection lifted, she screamed. Madness, heat, and grief assailed her. The demon flowed into her throat and devoured her from the inside out. Samuel recalled the demons and smiled. He felt powerful, virile. He gazed around at the now silent tent, the air thick with the taste of blood and flesh. The circus had proved an effective pretense, as humans always let their curious minds get the better of them. That they came of their own accord, with their sweet experience in the bloom of life, counted for much. As the vibrant soul of Daisy, the woman he'd shared a brief connection with, joined the rest in hell, he sighed. Tonight's mass sacrifice still left him short to take on the might of heaven. One more time, Samuel said, a part of him savouring the next performance. Then the world is mine. the end. So that was an invitation. If anyone's got any questions or anything like that about the book or anything like that, just type them into the comments and we can kind of have a look at them. So I hope you liked it. It's a great book. Again, they can see the link here. You can get it on ebook, hardback, paperback, and I think there's going to be an audio version of it at some point this year as well. So let's have a look through there. So hi, Brandy, how's it going? Aid, Matt, that's here. Morning from Australia, good to see you too. It's night time here, nearly 20 past 10, so it's a nice time for a little horror story, I suppose. Lots of people saying hello, thank you very much. Well, creepy is part of the whole thing, isn't it? Seems you have good instincts as a kid, Cloud. Yeah, I don't know what it was like. They don't really bother me all that much now. I suppose they kind of do and they don't. Like they're just a bit weird looking, aren't they? Like they're not exactly like happy looking. They're too happy, and like I don't know about you, but anything that is too happy kind of freaks me out. Maybe it's just the way that I was brought up, but that is just the way it is. I can't really change it. Sorry, yeah, Kimberly Ray is also in this book, and she is amazing. Clowns just run. Not a big fan of clowns people here tonight. Yeah, tell me why. Why do we not like clowns? What else about circuses are a bit freaky? Circuses are just freaky in general, though, aren't they? To be honest, like they're not great. Hi, Anya, how's it going? Okay. Missed the beginning, so I'm lost, but David's voice is cool, so I'm all right with it. Well, there you go. I'm glad I could entertain you in some way. The video will be on YouTube, I think, so you can just check it out later on if you really want to. It's up to you. Smoke flowing in human form. Yeah, I don't know where I think I'm a big fan of Lost, so I used to love the smoke monster. And yeah, I think that's probably what I was kind of thinking about at the time with that one. And Neen again, the creepy bastard. Thanks very much. This one. Okay. The secret of my beard. The secret of my I lost all my hair, so I shaved the hair off. I shaved it off before I lost it. I was going bald, so I was like, I'm not going to be one of these that has a side part in it. I'd cover up like a Bobby Charlton, as people in England would say. So I did that, and then I was like, I think I have too much face, and my glasses didn't really hide it. So which I lost them all, but like my glasses were like this. So I was like, well, I need to do something else. So I just decided. It was a New Year's resolution. 2 years ago, maybe. We're in 2021 now. 2019, yeah. I was like, I'm going to grow a beard this year. So I did. And it's there to stay because it's definitely too much face if I shave it off. So that's it. Thanks very much. Thank you. See if any more questions in here or anything like that. Otherwise, we could just start wrapping things up in a second. Okay, so I don't know if you've mentioned this reading for. Have you had an idea, a circus that formed this idea? Kind of. I don't know if this is true or not, but like my parents used to torment me about it. They took me to a circus when I was a child, and we were sat near the front, and the people, like, they wanted people from the audience to help out, and like these dwarf clowns came towards me and tried to pull me into the performance area to do something, and I was not happy about it. As you can imagine, I was a child, and so maybe it's that, but I don't know if it's true or not, but they always used to say it to me that it was, and maybe that stuck with me for all of my life. I don't know. We'll see. When does Nick Halloran turn up to save the day? Yeah, maybe he'll return soon. Hey, this was written before I wrote Dead Man Walking. I think you would actually know because you beta read this and Nick Halloran. So if I'm wrong, you tell me. But I think I wrote this one first. I think I must have been going through like I'm quite fascinated with the whole kind of heaven versus hell kind of thing. I think it's really. I think it's a really strong kind of story that you can write about. You know, it's got good sides and you can kind of really twist it. So yeah, maybe I was just going through a phase. Who knows? Well, you're lucky that you've not seen one in real life because there's something else. Like when you see them, they're pretty shocking. When you write something about a circus, do you base it on a real place that built in your mind? Not really a real place because you know, I think they're kind of disappointing when you see them. I don't know, like I've not been to like one of the big ones. Like it's just one of those kind of touring ones, and they're not really what you kind of expect. So I think it's more from the movies. I reckon it's probably where it comes from. And then your own kind of imagination, you bring it in. But obviously with this story, there's quite a lot of references to like, you know, the Beatles and Charles Manson and Willy Wonka and stuff like that. So I think people of a certain age group, which is probably quite a lot of us that are kind of watching now, that scene in Willy Wonka is just one of the freakiest things ever. And it's, you know, even still going back to watch it now as an adult, you're kind of thinking, what were they thinking with this for a children's film? It's pretty mental. And so I was kind of thinking like, you know, that'd be a perfect kind of thing just to kind of bring into this story. But that was it really. So yeah, thanks everyone for joining in. This has been good. Hope you enjoyed it. I will do some more in the future. I will be back pretty soon because I got this joyous t-shirt we've got From Blood and Ash coming out with Eerie River as well. That is out on March the 5th. We'll be doing a roundtable reading of that with Eerie River on the 6th, but I'll come back hopefully before that and I'll do something else if everyone wants to hear another story from me and maybe do a little bit more, maybe a competition for an upcoming book that is coming out soon. Also with Willy Wonka. I just saw someone coming out Willy Wonka. Eerie River's not doing anything with Willy Wonka. I obviously have a fantasy book coming out with them called In Solitude's Shadow in the summer, and we're going to be starting to ramp up the kind of promotion for that. We've got a few competitions in mind. There's a couple of things in there, a few details that are not quite finalized yet, like the name of a town. So we're going to be doing a kind of competition for people to help us out with that. The cover for book 1 is designed and we will be showing it pretty soon, but we are looking at designing the cover for book 2. So we may need some help with that as well, some opinions on things. So that'll be, if you're interested, that'll be something that'll be fun to do. Yeah, I saw a comment about Willy Wonka down here, but here it is, yeah. So watching Willy Wonka tomorrow. So good luck with that one. And good luck trying to get your kids to sleep after, because, man, that is one freaky film still. Gene Wilder's brilliant in it, but, man, I don't think I'd be showing my kid that until he's a teenager, way into his teenage years, because I don't want to try to explain that scene to him. And much of it, like, I read the books when I was a kid as well, and they're mental. But anyway, that's it. Maybe Roald Dahl should have done a bit more horror. I think he would have done quite well with it. So thanks very much. And we'll see you next time. Thanks for joining in.